Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle, where we are presented to you by FanDuel, where you can make all your picks, make all the spreads, the over-unders, everything, the anytime touchdowns, the props, anything you want. They have it over there at FanDuel. We appreciate you listening and being here with us because we cover every single Big Ten team and take some shots at the SEC along the way. If you like when we take those shots at the SEC, get ready because we're going to dissect the AP poll. And boy, are there a lot of SEC teams in this poll that do not deserve to be in there. So we're going to make sure we take some shots, make sure we remind everybody of these SEC teams that either don't belong or are far too high, and get with it there. So without further ado, the guy that can't stand the SEC just as much as I can't stand him, he's Zach Guggenheim.
You know, I am curious what the breakdown would be in terms of best quarterbacks between the Big Ten and the SEC. But Elliott, I think, had a tweet out today where he said that if you look at the top half of the Big Ten, the quarterback play is far superior. And I agree. Like, you look at the quarterbacks in the Big Ten versus the quarterbacks in the SEC. This is not being a homer. It's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted it out, like the West Coast quarterbacks, and I'm including Fernando Mendoza in that because he transferred from Cal, even though he's really from Miami, I believe. But he was fantastic. Damon Williams was fantastic. Dante Moore was fantastic. Jada Maava, Zach, the Pac-12 editions have been the greatest thing that ever has happened to quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Bravo, Pac-12.
Yep.
Thank you for sending those teams over.
Yep. Yep.
Fantastic. So, hey, everybody is in the chat. We appreciate you being here. For time's sake, we're just going to go ahead and get into the top 25, and we'll get to your comments and stuff like that along the way. So here's the top 25. Was released Sunday afternoon, and it reads like this. I'll read it, and then we'll get Zach's thoughts. Ohio State number 1, followed by Miami, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, number 6, Oregon, Oklahoma, Florida State, Texas A&M, Texas, and tell me if I didn't call this, Zach. I did. Indiana, number 11, outside the top 10. Travesty. Terrible. Number 12, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Tennessee, followed by number 16, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Michigan, Missouri, and then number 21, team that they passed Notre Dame. Thank the Lord. They somehow passed a team that has one win. USC at number 21. I cannot stand the stupid AP voters for having USC outside of the top 20. Notre Dame at number 22, Illinois 23, TCU, BYU round it out. And the only other team that received votes from the Big Ten was Maryland. Maryland got 6 votes. If you go by the voting, they would have came in ranked at 33 in the nation. Zach, your thoughts?
Hi. First of all, I will say I like that Miami's number 2. No offense to Penn State. I think Florida with their schedule Miami with their schedule has earned it. I know
it's deserved. Yes, it's deserved.
Like, I get that Florida's 1 and 3, but there's good pieces there, whatnot. But gosh, man, some of this is just like, why is A&M 9? Like, because they barely beat Notre Dame. Like, that's why they're 9. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, I can't be with you on this one, Zach.
Oh, really?
I have A&M as number 6 in mine.
I forget where I have A&M in mine.
Well, I mean, it really just depends on how much you value Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame not. I forget if I even have them ranked. If I do have them ranked, it's very low. I think I did rank them because they beat Purdue and everything, but it's very low. But I don't think that ranking is indicative, just like how I have Illinois ranked, I think, number 25 in the rankings, but I don't think they're actually the 25th best team in the nation. You just, like, the rankings in this scenario, you have to be moved down because it's not just who's the best team power ratings. It's, what do you deserve based off what happened in these games? And right now, Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be very high, but this is still a Notre Dame team, even though they have Chris Ash. This is still a Notre Dame team that, should be considered one of the better teams in the country. And Texas A&M did go to Notre Dame and get the win.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, Oklahoma got the win at home. Florida State got the win at home. Texas A&M went on the road and got the win.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Oklahoma, Like Oklahoma barely beats Auburn at home.
Oh, but they were number 22 in the nation, Zach.
Wasn't Oklahoma like 15th last week or
Something like
14th?
that.
What were
I don't
they?
know.
They were like,
I think I had them 22. Um, yeah, that was not a great game. Um, yeah, I think Oklahoma's living more off that Michigan win than they are the
which
Auburn win
which
personally.
is fair. I think Michigan looks improved. So, I I'll be honest. I don't have a ton of things to critique outside of the fact LSU is not fourth. They're living off a Clemson win that is looking worse and worse, and a Florida win that is looking worse and worse every day. Indiana needs to be in.
Fisherman, let's talk
Yeah,
LSU for just a second, then we'll get to Indiana. Fisherman's exactly right. They should be in the 8 or 9 range. I believe I have them 9 in my rankings. I might have them 8, but they should
yeah,
be in that range. This Clemson win was not. It is not aging to be all that impressive, and to me, I mean, the AP poll does a lot of things wrong. Okay, so let's not get it twisted. They do a lot of things wrong, but the thing they do the most wrong, which is really saying something, is they do not adjust for how the team is looking later on. Now,
hmm
later on in the season, you don't need to do that as much because there is a track record going up to it. But when it's all based on preseason rankings, I understand keeping a team high because of what you thought in the preseason. Penn State, I understand keeping them high. I don't personally have them that high, but I understand keeping them that high. But just because you thought Clemson was a top 5 team, I thought they were a top 4 team. I picked them to win the national championship. Boy, do I look stupid! But I thought this was a really good team going into the season. But they're 1-3. They've lost to Georgia Tech. They lost to Syracuse, who got killed by Tennessee. Clemson's not a good team, and it should
yeah,
not be considered a good win. Quite frankly, we were just wrong. And the ranking for LSU needs to start reflecting that. If they had beat Florida by more, if they had been able to run the ball, okay, yeah, keep them up there. But Florida threw 5 interceptions. What did Illinois do when the team turned it over 5 times? They blew out the team. They scored 45 on them.
yeah,
What did LSU do? They scored 20 points.
yeah. There's and granted, people will say, well, Duke's not Florida. Okay, granted, that's true.
But
Also,
LSU also hasn't played Indiana, who would cream LSU, who
yeah,
would destroy
and
LSU. I have
and
no doubt in my mind that Indiana would destroy LSU.
yeah, agreed. I'm yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying I can see why they get there, but LSU's resume sucks now. Like they have not beaten a ranked team. They
Well,
beat
they haven't, but you know what it says on the ESPN website? You know what it says? At Clemson, number 4, 17-10. This is not
yeah,
the number 4 team in the nation. I get it happened when they were ranked there. And I get what some SEC fans say. Like, oh, well, if they were ranked in that spot, that does need to be considered. Yes, if it's week 5, week 6, week 7, sure. When it's week 1 and the team continues to go 1-3, no.
yep. Get them out.
No.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me that Indiana would thump LSU?
I think it depends on what you mean by thump. I think Indiana.
They
I
would
think
beat them by 3 scores or
yeah.
more.
I don't know about that, but I think they would win by. I think they'd win by at least 7 to 10, if not more.
How dare you doubt the Hoosiers?
I'm just saying
I'm just messing with you.
LSU's really good defensively, and like, I think they would limit Indiana. But
Okay, but do you agree with me that Indiana would win at
yes,
least?
yes.
Yes.
Well, you'll see that in my poll.
Yeah.
You'll see that in my playoff rankings.
Yeah, I've seen your playoff rankings.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Can't wait for everybody else to see them as well, Zach.
That yeah, I may have been a bit frustrated the SEC when I did my playoff bracket. I'm just gonna say that as my defense.
Zach, when he texted me his playoff bracket, they just had a whole bunch of angry faces in it, and I didn't understand. But
That is
now,
not true.
so you and I both have Indiana well above 11 in our polls. I believe that I have them fourth. Do you remember where you have them?
Third.
Third. What I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get how this team can destroy, completely pants Illinois like that. And I understand the whole thing of like, oh, well, they were a top 10 team before they ever proved it. But you're still giving Clemson credit. You're
Yeah,
still giving Clemson
that's
credit. But you're not giving Illinois credit for being a top 10 team. It is mind boggling. Like, would Indiana have been better if they only beat Illinois by 2 scores? Would that have made Illinois look more respectable? It shouldn't
yeah.
look that way, but like I said,
It's
after the game happened, the talking point after this game is not Indiana is good and a national title contender. The talking point is, wow, and Illinois sucks.
Yep.
But that would not happen in the SEC.
Well, which is crazy because again, the credit that people are giving for the Clemson win, Clemson has not beaten an ACC team yet.
No,
Illinois has.
who they beat? I forget.
They beat Troy barely.
Oh, good job. Yeah, they were losing in that game, like 16-0.
Yeah, like Illinois has actually gone on the road, beat an ACC team by 26 on the road. No, 29 or 26. 26.
Yeah,
They
something like that.
like on the road, and you can make all the qualifiers in the world. They still went out and did that. Like that is on your resume. Give Indiana their flowers. And also like stop trying, like AP voters were waiting for Illinois to lose. I'm convinced of it. And not just like there are other guys that I respect, podcasters that were like I told you Illinois was a fraud. Listen, they did not show well on Saturday. Like that's obvious. But can we like pump the brakes? Because if we're going to do that with Illinois, then a lot of people have to do that with a lot of other teams that they said were going to be good and then they're not. Clemson being one of them, Florida being another, South Carolina being another. Like this is absurd. And like there's teams are still getting credit for those wins, whereas Illinois they drop like a rock, and Indiana goes to 11. They were what 17th in the poll last week, so they moved
19th.
So they moved 8 spots, which is a big jump. I'll give that to them. But you move Oklahoma like what 6 or 7 spots for beating the number 22 team in the country, who none of us were really sold on to begin with anyway.
Yeah. I believe Texas Tech moved up about the same as well. Texas Tech beats Utah.
Yeah. And Utah's out of the poll.
Right. Utah's out of the poll. I don't know. I don't get it. It's another brand thing, and they can't put the teams that don't have as high of a brand that high. And then I think also as well, like voters don't want to be wrong about what their preseason was. They refuse to double back and say like, oh, well, my preseason just wasn't right. No, they're going to stick with whatever they thought preseason and be like, well, this is what I think, so this is what it must still be.
Did
Even though Drew Aller hasn't looked good in the first 3 weeks of the season, this is still Penn State at number 3. Like.
Did Clemson get any votes in the AP poll? I didn't look.
No, they did not.
Okay, good. If someone voted for them, I was gonna start a petition to remove people off the poll.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about a couple other teams really fast, and then we can move on to our top 25. Michigan 19th. You like it? Don't like it? What are your thoughts?
I'm trying to remember where I have them. I have them a little lower, but I think it's fair.
I think considering they beat Nebraska, who we also had ranked,
yeah,
I think it's more than fair to have them up there. I actually put Michigan 16th. So I kind of had Michigan, Alabama, and Texas all kind of jumbled together because to me, they all kind of had similar resumes, and it's not exactly similar teams, but like Texas has a loss to Ohio State, but they've still beaten the other teams on their schedule. Alabama has the loss at Florida State, but they still have beat the other teams on their schedule. Michigan had the loss to, at Oklahoma, which was honestly, no, I won't say that. They had the loss at Oklahoma, so I kind of had them 3 in a line there, and this Michigan win over Nebraska. I went ahead and moved Michigan up over Texas and Alabama because, Alabama beat Wisconsin. Congrats. Maryland just did that. I mean, that raised them back up in the polls. I don't see Maryland in the polls, but that's how it goes. So,
Yep.
last one I'll ask you about, and then if you want to comment on Illinois, you can. But USC 21.
Stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I get it. Like if you look at their resume, similar to what we've said with Penn State and Oregon, you can't go by resume, but man, if you're gonna look at Texas and have them be 10th when they have not beaten anybody and they've looked like crap offensively. I get their defense is phenomenal, but like they've looked like crap on offense up until they played Sam Houston State. While USC has just dominated everybody. I think that's wrong. Like I have them 10th in my poll.
And Michigan State should have been considered a better win than it was. I mean, there were people, Brett McMurphy, who were putting out their AP poll rankings and saying like this is what it is before the game was over.
Yeah. By the way, I think if voters start doing that more, their vote needs to be revoked. Like full stop.
Yeah. The entire AP poll just needs to not be what is used on television and all these places anymore. They can continue to do their stuff, but they just need to not be used anymore. What needs to happen is there needs to be a collection of columnists and national podcasters and national writers throughout the country who are actually watching the majority of games. And I know there are some that people won't like Josh Pate and people like that. The people will say, "Oh, well, they're this, that, and the other," but at least they pay attention to the entire game. Right? A lot of these people with the AP poll, they cover a specific team, which means they're at that game all day. They don't have time to watch the teams. They don't have time to get to, like, they don't have time. And they're still considered, or they still are forced to turn in their AP ballots by 8 a.m. the next morning. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I shouldn't have said Josh Pate. I've got the chat going crazy now.
All right. I'm a Pate guy.
Yeah, I know you are. How about you do your top 25 first? Here you go, Zach.
Yeah.
And you can be quick with it.
Yeah, you can. You guys can roast me all you want. I have the Big Ten dominating the top 5 because I think outside of, I think 4 of the top 5 teams in the country are in the Big Ten. I really believe that based on what I've seen.
Well, and it's accurate in the FanDuel odds as well. The Big Ten, the top 3, I guess third is tied with Georgia, but 3 of the 4 top teams with odds to win the national championship: Ohio State plus 600, Penn State plus 650, Oregon plus 700. Georgia's tied with Oregon at plus 700, but there's really no argument to Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State shouldn't all be in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
5 at the very least. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, and I think Miami's the one team where I'm like Beck's been decent. He hasn't been great at quarterback, but he's been good. Their lines they're for real, man. Like Miami is like, there is a legitimate argument to be made for Miami to be 1. Like just the way that their roster is constructed. I'm not there yet. And obviously I want to see Ohio State this week against Washington. But Miami's really good. I am unashamed at Indiana at 3. Like whatever happens in Oregon, Penn State might change my mind in the order of those 3 teams. But right now I have no shame putting Indiana at 3 in the country. I think so. Brett asked, why do I have Illinois over Michigan? I don't think the game with Indiana is indicative of how good Illinois really is or how bad they really are. So yes, you take that into account. I think you also take into account that Michigan, they played a team that they could not block it. Now, I think I would not be surprised if Illinois and Michigan played. I would not be surprised if Michigan won because of their play style. I'm just not ready to put Illinois underneath them, knowing what we've known about how Illinois is constructed. So that is a little bit of preseason bias. I'll give you that. Um, I want to continue to see both these teams. I think it's very possible that Illinois is out of the poll by next week, though, and I think it's very possible that Michigan ascends pretty quickly.
I mean, whoever loses that Illinois USC game is going to be out of the poll.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we have to remember too when we do these polls, that, like, there's teams on here where I'm like, well, I think this team could beat this team, but that doesn't, like, if you do that with every team, like, it's just gonna be hard to shuffle.
Right. That's when you get Notre Dame still in the top 10.
Yeah. So I don't have Notre Dame in. I think they'll get back in if they continue to win. I didn't punish Auburn much for their loss. That they lost by a touchdown at Oklahoma. Yeah, I feel like maybe the other team we're not talking about a lot, and I say this as someone who does not like Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's really good. Like, we got to give Diego
the Georgia State loss. Put up
But
70 on them.
we gotta give Diego Pavia props. He ran his mouth and he's backed it up so far. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. My top 25, I'll go through this rather quick. Ohio State number 1, Miami at number 2. There's an argument for Miami at number 1, but I just don't see it. Georgia at number 3, giving Kirby Smart some recognition there. Then I have Indiana and Oregon rounding out my top 5. Texas A&M. I highly covet the win at Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame is shown to be leaky and have some issues here and there. I still covet that win. At Notre Dame, that was a game Notre Dame needed to win. The pressure was on them. They lost to Miami. They were falling out of the poll, and all this stuff was happening if they lost this game. And Texas A&M still got it done. Marcel Reed, those guys, need to give them credit, in my opinion. Then you're followed by Penn State, very high on USC. I've said it again and again. Jada Maava, he should be a Heisman contender. This defensive line for USC has improved. Jakeem Stewart was fantastic. I know that Michigan State offensive line is not great, but holy cow, he was just getting free releases into the backfield. At one point in time, he nearly tackled the quarterback and the running back on a handoff. Just nasty stuff. The secondary is the biggest issue there, but when you have a pass rush like they have, you can mask some of that stuff. Vanderbilt, need to give them credit. LSU, I have number 10. Just don't think they need as much credit as they're getting for the Clemson win and stuff. Oklahoma, number 11, like the win on at home against Michigan and beating Auburn. Those are good wins, but to me, you need to do a little bit more to get into the top 10 with your offense, in my opinion. Florida State, number 12, followed by Georgia Tech. Texas Tech, moved them up, like the win over Utah, but I was never really a Utah believer like some other people were. I think they got way too much credit for being a bad UCLA team. Ole Miss at 15. I think we need to give them more credit for beating Kentucky and some of those teams. I know these are not great teams, but they were able to beat Arkansas, who shown they have a pretty good quarterback in Taylor Green with their backup quarterback. So, and then they just beat Tulane. So Ole Miss needs some credit. It's not a great schedule they have, but they need some credit. Michigan, Texas, Alabama. This is what I was referring to earlier when kind of the block that I had, because these teams are pretty similar, and Michigan moved up. You could make an argument for they should be in the top 15, and I wouldn't argue with you too much. That's just where I have them. Iowa State at number 19, Missouri at number 20, Notre Dame at number 21. Although the resume is not great for Notre Dame, I did move them up because I think they are still a good team, and I want to give them credit for that. Although it does hurt to have a team that's 1-2 in my top 25. That is kind of crazy. Washington at number 22. Offense is amazing. Defense, we'll see what it's like. Mississippi State 23. Honestly, the biggest thing was Arizona State beat Baylor and looked good doing it. So that was a huge thing. And then, you know what? Give me Maryland. Give me Maryland, and they're ranked. I'm going to go for it. Number 24, they did not just beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin, but they beat Wisconsin handily in that one. And that defense is better than people realize. And then I'm rounding it out with Illinois at number 25 because I'm biased. I'll be honest.
At least you admit it. Interesting. I did not think about Mississippi State beating Arizona State, and then Arizona State beating Baylor. That's a good one. That's a deep cut right there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Brett says Tennessee is by far the best one-loss team right now. Maybe, but why? I mean, they beat a Syracuse team that could barely beat UConn. Sure, they beat Clemson, but Clemson's not great. They were close with Georgia, but that was one of the worst performances from Georgia I've seen in a while. So, yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't argue with you if you put Tennessee in over Illinois or something like that, but I just don't know what they've done that's been all that great, personally.
I I'm not sure that Georgia is the number 3 team in the country.
You don't think so?
Well, I appreciate that you clarified your rating, your ranking based on it's Kirby Smart. I'm talking, or the AP poll has them what, fourth or fifth?
Yeah.
I I I I have them in my, and this is actually going to be my rationale in my playoff bracket. I think the SEC. I think a lot of teams are overranked and overrated, and I think the SEC is going to cannibalize itself. If I'm honest.
It is the inflated version of the Big 12. So,
Yep.
yeah. Hey,
Lots of mediocrity at quarterback.
we won't say anything else about my top 25 other than what Spinner Bait said
There
here.
you
This
go.
top
There you
25 is so
go.
much better than AP. You know the way to my heart. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's get to the college football playoff predictions. Zach, the Indiana fans in the chat will like yours. So let's start with yours.
Yeah, I think all Big Ten fans might like mine, and also might say I'm crazy. But just hear me out. I think the SEC is going to cannibalize itself. So I only have 2 SEC teams in right now, which would be glorious.
I would love it. I'm not going to
Yeah,
predict it, but I would love it.
yeah. Next week it'll probably have 3 or 4, but for this week, this sole week, we're gonna do that. I've got number 1 Ohio State, number 2 Miami. I think that's the clearest to me. I do have Georgia at 3 because I think there's going to be some sort of bump for the SEC champ. Indiana at 4. I think it's very possible Indiana goes 11-1 and it gets the 4th spot because their one loss will be either to Penn State or Oregon at one of those places. 5, I have Oregon. 6, I have hold on, let me figure this out. Florida State. I think Florida State
Oh, yeah, it's
somehow.
Florida State. I
Yeah.
put the 7 twice. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll fix that really fast. Go ahead.
Yeah. 6, I have Florida State. 7, Texas Tech as the Big 12 champ. 8, Texas. 9, USC, because I think USC is gonna either go 11-1 or 10-2. 10, I have Georgia Tech. 11, I think is either between an SEC team or a Big Ten team. And I think Penn State will win one of their 3 big games and get that final at-large spot. And then I have Memphis at 12 as the group of 5 representative.
I like the Memphis pick because I have the Memphis pick as well. All right. I have Ohio State number 1, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Miami, number 4, Texas Tech. I just think Texas Tech might just win out the rest of the way. And in the Big 12, they beat Utah, who I think was their biggest competition to do that. And I mean, unless they really fall short, I don't know if anybody else beats them. Then I have number 5, Indiana. I think Indiana's going to play really well, but I don't think they're going to give Indiana the top 4. We just saw Indiana only get ranked 11th.
That's
Even if
fair.
Indiana only has 1 loss this season, and that would honestly probably be my current projection. We'll see how they play the rest of the season, but my current projection is probably 11-1. Indiana, the 1 loss coming to Oregon. That would probably be what I'd have there. And you might say, oh, well, Oregon should be above them, but I have Oregon at number 7. I think Oregon could find themselves in some trouble. They might lose to Penn State this weekend. I'm not going to predict it probably. I still need to decide on that. But Oregon could lose to Penn State. They also have Washington. They also have USC. Like this Oregon schedule is looking more difficult than it was before, and I'm not as convinced that they're just going to roll out and win all 12 games or be 11-1. But I do think that their resume and the teams that they play will be big enough that they'll be able to get in at number 7. Number 8, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has nobody left on their schedule. If they're a good
Yep.
team, they should make the playoffs. Number 9, Texas. They'll think they get up there, and I think the Archman hype comes back eventually. Number 10, Ole Miss. They have nobody on their schedule. They're going to win a lot of games the rest of the season. Number 11, Penn State. Think that they might lose 2 games the rest of the way. We'll see what happens with this Oregon game. That'll greatly impact my college football playoff prediction in next week. And then obviously number 12, Memphis, as I stated before.
Mm. So you think Alabama's back?
I think Alabama could be 10-2 and be the 6th seed.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because if you look at all the ratings and everything like that, like ESPN, FPI, SP Plus, I don't know where they are in Sagarin, but I would anticipate they're probably pretty high in Sagarin as well. They've got brand and numbers on their side, and they typically don't, have a big loss mean all that much for an SEC team, especially Alabama. So,
Yeah.
and that loss came early enough in the year, week 1, that I don't think it's like if they win some of these SEC games coming up, they're going to shoot right back up into the top 10.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and they don't have. I don't think they have like the craziest schedule. Let me just look it up real quick. They do have Georgia. They're at Georgia this Saturday night, which no one will watch that because they'll be watching Penn State, Oregon, right? Hope at least the Kings of the North will be watching Penn State, Oregon. But they have Georgia, and then they play Vandy. They play at Missouri. They play Tennessee. They play at South Carolina. They play LSU. Ugh. Yeah, if they go 10-2, they'll make the playoff for sure. But
it's all going to come. It's all going to
schedule.
come down. It's all going to come down to what this change. And honestly, like these predictions are going to change a lot once we get the first playoff rankings and we learn what did they mean when they said that losing big games is not going to impact you as much, and losing, and winning big games is going to impact you more, right? If you play big games, you're not going to be punished as much for losing them. You're going to get, good benefits from winning them as well because you're playing them. So that is really what we're looking for here than nothing more than anything else. When November comes, what does the college football playoff committee's first rankings look like? And Brenton helped us out here. He said Bearman is currently 4th in Sagarin. Kind of continues to prove my point.
Yeah.
So.
I do want to say real quick, because there's a little bit of a skirmish, and I won't say skirmish. That's probably too aggressive, but Indiana and Penn State fans are getting into it a little bit in the chat. So Penn State guy, friend of the show, when Indy played a team with talent, they got beat easy like last year. Where Indiana fans, Brett Beaver, Indiana by 14 against PSU 2, LOL. I just want to say, and Penn State guys, like he knows his stuff. So like, I have lots of respect for him and his analysis. I will say this: I don't think this year's Indiana team's like last year's Indiana's team. Like,
I think
watching
the
them,
Indiana team is better on both sides of the ball.
Like much better. Much better.
I'll have to see it more to say much better, but I think they're better.
Yeah, the line play in particular makes them very dangerous, and the running backs, they had good backs last year. I think Black.
What will be the biggest telling point, not telling point, but the biggest point for us to learn about the trench play of Indiana will be this game against Iowa, because Iowa I don't think has the passing game to beat Indiana. It is at Kinetic, so it might happen. We'll see. But overall, like Illinois had an offensive line that struggled early on this year, so it's not a surprise that Indiana was able to beat them down. Iowa's offensive line has not struggled. Iowa's defensive line has not struggled. Mark Gronowski has held onto the ball too long, so that's why he gets sacked. But overall, the offensive line has not struggled. If this defensive line for Indiana can get pressure and take down, and take down Mark Gronowski without him holding onto the ball and stuff, this Indiana defensive line is going to be much have much more proof of who they are.
Yeah.
And I think they already have proof. It'll just be more proof.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that will tell us more about the Indiana Penn
Yeah.
State matchup coming up.
I think that's fair. And I think I understand where Penn State guys coming from. Like to say that Indy will definitely beat PSU at PSU by 14 is a pure bias take. Like I think the same is to be said for Penn State, that we're going to find out a lot about them this Saturday as well. Like how do they do against a good team, against real division, like elite athletes,
one of the best
good
offensive lines in the country and one of the best defensive lines in the Big Ten. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna see both, I think, for Indy and for Penn State and for Oregon. Like honestly, this weekend's such a great show me weekend for all the teams in the Big Ten. Like particularly in the top tier. Like even USC, Illinois, like that's a really good matchup to help us understand more about USC and Illinois. Ohio State, Washington is going to be really helpful. So this is it's a defining weekend for the Big Ten.
It is. And that is all that we have for this episode of the Big Ten Huddle. We appreciate you being here. If you're listening on podcast, or if you're listening in person on the live, or if you're listening on Twitter, like one Doreen who just reposted. Thank you for doing that, Doreen. We appreciate you doing that, and we appreciate you being here. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Zach?
No, I think, it was a really good weekend. And I'm excited to see as the season progresses how this really folds out. Cause I think this is the most competitive the Big Ten's going to be in a while. Like there's a lot of teams that could win. There's a lot of teams that could still make the playoff from the Big Ten. Michigan is one. Washington is one, and we're not talking about them a ton. And then we have, I think, 5 other teams that are legit playoff threats as well, besides those 2. So it's really fun.
Mm-hmm. It's just such a fun season so far. It's gonna be great. So,
yep.
Doreen says, "Hey guys, hey Doreen, signing off now, but we appreciate you being here and we appreciate you reposting the stream. Thanks for doing that." Penn State guy says, "Great show. We appreciate that." NSPR8 says, "Thanks guys, another good show." Thank you everybody for the support.
We appreciate it.
We do our best to put on a good show because it's what we want to do for you guys, and give you guys good, honest analysis, and try to be fair to as many teams as we can, even though sometimes we aren't fair to teams. Like when I said Nebraska's offensive line sucks. I know that was a fair take. Anyway, we're going to move on. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.